I believed my life was finally moving forward. After 3 exhausting years of overtime, missed holidays, and endless late nights, I stood in front of my apartment mirror, adjusting my only navy suit. Emily smiled as she fixed my tie. "You look handsome," she said. "Do I finally look like someone worth celebrating?" I joked. She laughed softly. "Tonight is important. Try to relax. I've been waiting for this dinner for months," I admitted. "Maybe everyone will finally see I'm more than the quiet guy who stays late." "You worry too much," she replied. We arrived at the company restaurant, where music filled the room and coworkers greeted each other with cheerful voices. Ethan waved from across the table. "There's our hardest worker," he shouted. I grinned, only because someone keeps giving me impossible deadlines. He laughed. "Tonight, forget work. Eat good food and enjoy yourself." I nodded, honestly believing this evening would become my happiest memory instead. I had barely finished my first bite when Marcus lifted his glass and smiled across the table. "Since we're celebrating," he said, "Emily, tell everyone the funniest thing about Adrian." Emily looked at me for a second, then laughed. "The funniest thing?" she said. "Easy. He's the biggest failure I've ever dated." The table exploded with laughter. "Histoire de rire." "Emily, what are you saying?" "Oh, come on," she replied. "Don't act surprised. You work harder than anyone, yet you're still stuck in the same position." Marcus smirked. "Hard work without results is just wasted time." Someone chuckled. Another coworker whispered, "He actually believed tonight was about him." My face burned. I forced a weak smile. "If this is a joke, it's gone far enough." Emily shrugged. "I'm only telling the truth," she said. "Everyone here already knows it. I'm simply brave enough to say it out loud." The laughter had barely faded when Victor leaned back in his chair and folded his arms. "You know," he said, "Emily isn't wrong." I looked at him. "What do you mean?" He smiled without warmth. "You only survive here because everyone else carries your workload." "That's not true," I replied. Victor shrugged. "Really? Who finishes your reports? Who fixes your mistakes before clients see them?" "No one," I said firmly. "I finish my own projects." Marcus laughed. "Listen to him. He actually believes that." A few people nodded as if they had already decided I was guilty. I swallowed the anger rising inside me. "If I've done something wrong," I said, "tell me directly." Victor tapped the table. "Your biggest mistake," he answered, "is thinking effort matters more than talent." Silence settled over me. Emily avoided my eyes. For the first time that night, I realized nobody intended to defend me at all. I pushed my chair back slowly. "I think I should leave," I said. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Running away already?" "I'm not running," I replied. "I just won't stay where respect doesn't exist." Emily crossed her arms. "There you go again," she said. "Always acting like the victim." I looked at her, hoping to find even a little regret. "Did you ever believe in me?" I asked quietly. She sighed. "I believed in the man I hoped you would become, not the man you still are." Her words hurt more than every laugh in the room. I picked up my jacket. "Enjoy the celebration," I said. Nobody stopped me. As I walked through the restaurant, I felt dozens of eyes following me, but no one called my name. Outside, the cool night air hit my face. For the first time in years, I couldn't hold back the tears. Everything I had worked for suddenly felt completely meaningless. I turned and saw Ethan hurrying toward me. He stopped beside me and placed a hand on my shoulder. "Don't let them decide who you are," he said. "They already did," I answered. "Everyone believed them." "I don't." I looked at him. "Why?" "Because I've seen you stay after midnight, help people without asking for credit, and keep your promises. That isn't failure." I managed a faint smile. "Thanks," I whispered. Across the restaurant window, an older gentleman quietly watched us from a corner table. He said nothing, but his calm eyes never left me. After a moment, he nodded to himself, settled the bill, and walked away into the night. I never learned his name. I never knew he was Daniel Brooks, the retired founder of Brooks Global. I only knew my life had fallen apart. I had no idea that this painful night was quietly opening the greatest door of my future. Ethan arrived carrying 2 paper bags. "I brought your favorite burgers," he said. "I can't even enjoy food anymore." "Then eat anyway." We sat quietly until he finally spoke. You still blame yourself, don't you? I keep wondering if Emily was right. She wasn't. Before I could answer, my phone rang. Victor. Adrian, he said coldly. Report to the office tomorrow morning. Why? We need to discuss the failed Riverside project. I finished every assignment. We'll talk tomorrow. The meeting lasted less than 10 minutes. Victor slid a thick folder across the desk. Your mistakes cost this company thousands. That report isn't mine. It carries your employee number. It was changed. Marcus leaned against the wall, smiling. Always another excuse. I looked directly at Victor. Someone altered my work. Victor shrugged. Unless you have proof, nobody will believe you. The room fell silent as my future slipped away before my eyes. The weeks after that dinner felt endless. Every morning I woke hoping the pain would fade, but my phone kept proving me wrong. Emily posted smiling pictures with Marcus, and every caption seemed written to hurt me. One afternoon she called. I wanted you to hear from me, she said. Hear what? We're together now. I already guessed. I finally found a real winner, Adrian. I closed my eyes. So that's how easily you erased us? You made it easy, she replied. I got tired of waiting for you to become successful. I was trying. Trying isn't enough. The call ended. I sat alone in my apartment, staring at unpaid bills scattered across my table. A message arrived from Ethan. I took a slow breath. So that's it? I asked. You already decided I'm guilty? Victor folded his hands. The decision has been made. You never even investigated. We didn't need to. Marcus smiled proudly. Accept the loss, Adrian. Maybe you're just not management material. I looked at him. My ideas helped you earn your last promotion. He laughed. Can you prove that? I couldn't answer. Victor stood. Please leave your company badge on the desk. My hands trembled as I removed it. This company was my life, I whispered. Victor replied without emotion. Not anymore. I walked out carrying a small box with my belongings. Near the elevator, Sarah quietly caught up with me. Adrian, she said softly, I'm sorry. For what? I saw someone change your project files. Who? She lowered her voice. It was Victor. Then tell everyone. Tears filled her eyes. I'm scared he'll destroy my career too. I nodded slowly. I understand, I said, even though my heart felt heavy. Sarah looked down. I wanted to speak up. I know. He controls everything. You have to protect yourself. She wiped away a tear. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. You already helped by telling me the truth. She whispered. I hope one day everyone learns what really happened. So do I. After she left, I drove home in silence. The mailbox was overflowing with overdue notices. I opened one envelope. Final payment reminder. Another bill followed. Then another. I laughed bitterly. Failure, I muttered. Maybe everyone was right. My phone buzzed again. Ethan, open your door. I frowned but walked outside. He stood there holding grocery bags. You skipped dinner yesterday, he said. I can't keep accepting your help. You're not accepting charity. Then what is this? He smiled. This is what brothers do when one of them forgets he isn't alone anymore. I looked at Ethan and shook my head. I don't know how to start over, I admitted. You start by taking one step, he replied. I found a consulting opening. Apply. Nobody will hire me. You're letting Victor decide your future. He handed me a printed address. Go tomorrow. The next morning, I entered a quiet office expecting another rejection. A receptionist smiled. Please wait. Someone will see you shortly. An older gentleman walked into the room and stopped. We've met before, he said. I recognized the calm eyes from the restaurant. You were there that night. He nodded. I remember how you handled humiliation with dignity. I didn't feel dignified. Character isn't measured by feelings. He extended his hand. My name is Daniel Brooks. I froze. The founder? The retired founder, he corrected with a gentle smile. Mr. Adrian Hayes, I'd like to offer you one final chance. Don't waste it. Daniel led me into a quiet conference room. Sit down, Adrian, he said. I looked around. I thought this was a job interview. It is. The door opened, and a young woman entered carrying several folders. Good morning, she said. I am Olivia. I stood politely. Nice to meet you. She smiled. My father speaks highly of people who stay calm under pressure. I glanced at Daniel. You're related? He chuckled. Let's focus on today's work. Olivia placed a thick file before me. This company lost 30% of its profits in 6 months. Tell me what you would do. I frowned. You want an answer now? No, she replied. Take the file home. Return tomorrow. That's all. Daniel nodded. We're not hiring your resume. Then what are you hiring? He smiled. The way your mind solves problems when nobody tells you the answer. That's what truly matters most. I carried the file home and spread every page across my small dining table. This can't be real, I whispered. Charts, contracts, budgets, and customer complaints covered every inch of the surface. I barely slept that night. Every time I found one answer, another problem appeared. The next morning, I returned with pages of handwritten notes. Olivia looked surprised. You finished already? I didn't finish, I admitted. I found enough to begin. Daniel leaned forward. Explain. The company isn't losing money because of sales, I said. It's losing trust. Olivia raised an eyebrow. Go on. Managers keep chasing short-term profits while ignoring customers. Employees stop caring because honest work is never rewarded. Daniel smiled quietly. And your solution? Rebuild the culture first. Strong numbers always follow strong people. Olivia exchanged a quick glance with Daniel. Neither of them spoke for several seconds. Then Daniel finally nodded. Interesting, he said. Very interesting indeed, Adrian. Daniel folded his hands and looked directly at me. Most candidates talk about cutting costs, he said. Why didn't you? Because fear creates silence, I replied. Silent employees stop solving problems. Olivia nodded slowly. So you would invest in people first? Yes. What if profits fall again? Then we fix the reason instead of blaming the workers. Daniel smiled. You've been blamed before. I laughed quietly. More times than I can count. Olivia opened another folder. One final challenge. Imagine 2 managers. One is brilliant but dishonest. The other is average but trustworthy. Who do you promote? The trustworthy one. Why? Skills can be taught. Character cannot. Daniel looked pleased. I've spent years telling executives exactly that. I hesitated. Most companies don't think that way. He leaned back. That's why most companies eventually fail. For the first time in years, I felt someone respected my judgment instead of doubting every word I spoke. Olivia closed the folder and smiled. You surprised me today, she said. I wasn't trying to. That makes it even better. Daniel stood and walked toward the window. Adrian, he said, do you know why I invited you here? I assumed you needed another consultant. He shook his head. I wanted to meet the man who chose dignity over anger. I remember the restaurant. I didn't have the strength to fight. You had the strength to control yourself, he replied. That matters more. Olivia nodded. My father believes talent without character destroys companies. And character? I asked. Character builds leaders who last. I lowered my eyes. No employer has ever cared about my character. Daniel answered gently. That's because most employers only read resumes. He handed me another file. This assignment is harder. I accepted it without hesitation. I'll finish it. He smiled. I already knew you would. For the next several weeks, I worked through long nights without complaint. Every assignment Daniel and Olivia gave me felt impossible. Yet each challenge reminded me I still had something valuable to offer. One evening, Olivia smiled. You never ask when you'll be promoted. I haven't earned that question yet, I replied. Daniel laughed softly. That answer tells me more than any resume ever could. When I returned home, my phone displayed another photo of Emily and Marcus celebrating his latest promotion. Hundreds of comments praised their perfect life. I quietly closed the screen. They can keep the applause, I whispered. I opened my notebook and returned to work. Somewhere across the city, Victor probably believed he had erased me forever. He had no idea I was rebuilding myself one decision at a time. For the first time in years, my future no longer depended on proving anyone wrong. It depended on becoming the man I had always wanted to be. Months quietly turned into years, and I barely recognized the man I had become. One afternoon, Olivia walked beside me after another strategy meeting. You handled that negotiation well, she said. I learned from watching you. She smiled. No, you learned because you listened. Later, Daniel invited me into his office. You're solving problems faster now, he said. I've stopped trying to prove myself. And what are you trying to do instead? Create results. He nodded proudly. That difference changes leaders. I looked around the office. Do you ever regret trusting me? Not for 1 second. His answer stayed with me all day. That evening, Ethan called. So, Mr. Secret Consultant, he joked, are you finally becoming important? I laughed. I still work behind closed doors. Good, he replied. The strongest foundations are always built where nobody is looking first. A few weeks later, Olivia invited me into another meeting. I have something important to ask, she said. What is it? I want you to lead this project. Hier. Officially, she shook her head. Not publicly. Your name stays hidden. Why? Daniel answered before she could. Because the right moment hasn't arrived. I don't understand. You will, he said calmly. I accepted the assignment anyway. Success no longer needed applause. After the meeting, Ethan called again. How did it go? I just became responsible for our biggest client. That deserves dinner. It also comes with enough pressure to ruin my appetite. He laughed. You're different now. Ow, you don't complain anymore. I finally realized something. What? Winning quietly feels better than arguing loudly. He chuckled. I've been waiting years to hear you say that. I smiled. So have I. For once, peace mattered more than proving anyone wrong. One afternoon, Olivia walked into my office with a familiar face behind her. Adrian, she said, someone wants to see you. I stood immediately. Sarah, she smiled nervously. Hello. What are you doing here? I resigned. Hier. Why? I finally reported Victor's fraud. You did. She nodded. I couldn't keep protecting lies. Olivia handed me a folder. Everything Sarah submitted has been verified. I looked at Sarah. You risked your career. I remembered what you told me. She replied. I don't remember saying anything brave. You said truth matters, even when it costs something. I laughed softly. I was trying to convince myself. Well, she smiled. It convinced me too. Olivia folded her arms. Would you like Sarah on your team? I answered without hesitation. Yes. Sarah smiled through grateful tears. Thank you for believing in me again. As our team grew stronger, Daniel continued teaching me lessons that had nothing to do with numbers. Leadership begins with listening, he said. I used to think it began with giving orders. That is management, he replied. Leadership earns trust first. I nodded. I understand now. He smiled. Good. Never forget it. Later that evening, Olivia joined me on the balcony overlooking the city. You've changed, she said. I hope for the better. You stopped asking people to believe in you. I learned they don't have to. What changed your mind? You and Daniel believed in me before I believed in myself. She smiled warmly. Then promise me something. What? When success finally comes, don't become the man who once hurt you. I won't. She extended her hand. Deal. I shook it. Deal. For the first time, I realized confidence didn't come from praise. It came from quietly keeping my promises every single day. Years passed, and Brooks Global quietly reached new heights. I became one of the company's most trusted executives, yet almost nobody outside the leadership team knew my name. One morning, I asked Daniel, why keep me hidden? He smiled. Because timing changes everything. How much longer? Until the truth creates the greatest impact. I accepted his answer. That evening, Ethan raised a glass. To every victory nobody sees. I laughed and clinked my glass against his. Meanwhile, Marcus chased attention through reckless decisions. Emily filled her days with glamorous parties, and Victor buried his growing failures beneath dishonest financial reports. None of them knew how closely their choices were being watched. None of them imagined our paths would cross again. As I looked across the city lights, I whispered, I'm ready whenever that day comes. Deep inside, I knew patience was no longer my weakness. It had quietly become my greatest strength of all. Rumors reached our office before sunrise. Olivia placed a newspaper on my desk. Read the headline. I looked down. Major investors questioned Bennett Holdings after financial concerns. I looked back at her. Marcus always believed confidence could replace honesty. She nodded. It finally caught up with him. I stayed quiet. She studied my face. You don't look happy. I thought I would be. And I mostly feel tired. Daniel entered carrying another folder. Good, he said. I frowned. Good. Revenge excites people. Justice exhausts them. I slowly closed the newspaper. What happens now? We keep working. That's simple. Yes. I hesitated. Shouldn't I confront Marcus? Daniel shook his head. No. Why not? Because your future deserves your attention more than his downfall. His words settled deeply inside me. For years, I had dreamed about proving Marcus wrong. Now I quietly wondered whether he deserved another moment of my life at all. Later that afternoon, Sarah entered my office carrying several thick folders. I finally finished organizing everything, she said. I looked at the stacks. What is all this? Years of financial records. I opened the first file. These numbers don't match. They weren't supposed to. I looked up. Victor changed them? She nodded. He blamed junior employees whenever money disappeared. I turned another page. This proves it. Yes. Then why haven't we reported him? Daniel walked into the room before Sarah could answer. Because timing matters. I frowned. We already have evidence. We need complete evidence. So we wait. We wait. I sighed. Waiting has never been easy for me. Daniel smiled gently. I know. Sarah looked at me. Do you trust him? I closed the folder. With my future. Daniel nodded. Then trust the process too. I leaned back slowly. Patience still felt uncomfortable, but I had learned it often protected truth better than anger ever could. That evening, I scrolled through social media without thinking. Emily had posted another picture. She stood beside Marcus at an expensive charity gala, but her smile looked forced. I whispered, something has changed. My phone rang. It was Ethan. You've seen the photos? Yes. What do you think? I don't think they're happy anymore. Does that make you feel better? I paused. I thought it would. And it doesn't. He stayed quiet for a moment. You still love the woman she used to be. Maybe. Or maybe you miss the future you imagined. His words stopped me. I never thought about it that way. You're not mourning Emily. What am I mourning? The life you believed you would have. I slowly locked my phone. You're probably right. He laughed softly. I usually am. For the first time, I realized healing wasn't forgetting someone. It was accepting that the future I lost had already been replaced by a better one. The next morning, Olivia invited me into her office. You've been unusually quiet, she said. I've been thinking. About Emily? Yes. She folded her hands. If she apologized today, what would you do? I honestly don't know. Would hurting her make you feel stronger? I looked out the window. No. Would humiliating her erase your pain? No. She smiled gently. Then what do you really want? I took a slow breath. I want peace. She nodded. That is the first answer a true leader gives. I laughed quietly. I never expected peace to feel harder than revenge. Because revenge is immediate. And peace requires discipline every single day. Her words settled inside me. I think I'm finally beginning to understand. She stood beside me. Success isn't proving your enemies wrong. What is it? Becoming someone they can no longer define. I smiled. That sounds like freedom. It is, she replied. Protect it with everything you have. That night, I stayed alone in my office long after everyone else had gone home. The silence no longer felt lonely. It felt earned. Daniel stopped by my door. Still working. I was thinking. About the past? A little. And the future? A lot more. He smiled. That's progress. I looked at him. I don't need Emily to regret losing me anymore. No. I need to keep becoming the man I promised myself I would become. He nodded proudly. Then you've already won. As he left, I looked across the city lights and quietly closed the last folder on my desk. Marcus was losing investors. Emily was losing the life she believed would last forever. Victor was running out of places to hide the truth. Meanwhile, I was building something nobody could steal. For the first time, success belonged to me because of who I had become, not because I had defeated anyone else. The announcement reached every major business newspaper within hours. Olivia walked into my office, holding an elegant invitation. It's official, she said. The CEO inauguration is next month. I accepted the envelope carefully. This is the day you've been preparing for. She smiled. We've all been preparing. I opened the invitation and read the guest list. Marcus Bennett, Emily Carter, Victor Hade, Linda Carter. I looked up. They're all coming. Yes. They think they're attending your celebration. They are, she replied, but not only mine. Before I could ask another question, Daniel entered. Everything is moving exactly as planned. I frowned. Shouldn't they know? I'll be there. He shook his head. Not yet. Why? Because truth has greater power when it arrives without warning. I quietly folded the invitation. For years, I had imagined facing them again. Now that the moment was approaching, my confidence suddenly felt much quieter than my memories had promised. A week before the ceremony, Daniel invited me into the main boardroom. There's someone you should meet, he said. An older man stood near the window. He turned and smiled. So, you're Adrian Hayes. I am. He offered his hand. I'm Henry Brooks. I froze. The chairman? The very one. I shook his hand. It's an honor. The honor belongs to the man who helped rebuild this company without asking for applause. I looked at Daniel. You told him everything? Daniel smiled. I told him the truth. Henry handed me several printed pages. This is my welcome speech. I glanced at the first paragraph. My name, it's here. Henry nodded. It belongs there. I never expected public recognition. You didn't work for recognition. No, exactly, he replied. That's why you've earned it. I held the speech carefully. For the first time, I realized the world was finally preparing to hear the truth I had carried silently for years. The morning of the ceremony arrived faster than I expected. I stood backstage, adjusting my suit with unsteady hands. Olivia walked over and smiled. You look nervous. I've spoken in meetings for years, I said. Why does today feel different? Because today isn't about business. What is it about? Truth. I let out a slow breath. I keep remembering that restaurant. The night they laughed at you. I nodded. I can still hear every word. She placed a reassuring hand on my arm. Those voices don't control this stage. I know. Then who does? I looked toward the curtain. Ido. She smiled proudly. That's the answer I hoped to hear. The audience applauded as guests filled the ballroom. I recognized Marcus, Emily, Victor, and Linda taking their seats. None of them looked toward the backstage entrance. None of them knew I was standing only a few steps away, waiting for the moment that would change everything forever. I stood behind the curtain, listening as the orchestra finished its final note. My heartbeat echoed louder than the applause. Daniel stepped beside me. Nervous? A little. That means you understand the importance of today. I looked at him. What if I freeze? You won't. What if they laugh again? He smiled calmly. They don't have that power anymore. I lower my eyes. I've waited years for this moment. I know. I thought revenge would feel exciting. And now, I only want the truth to be seen. Daniel placed a hand on my shoulder. That is why you've already won. An assistant approached us. Mr. Brooks, 5 minutes. Daniel nodded. We're ready. The assistant left. I inhaled deeply. My hands won't stop shaking. They're shaking because you still care. Ido. Never lose that. I straightened my jacket and faced the stage entrance. Fear still stood beside me, but hope finally stood taller. The lights dimmed as the master of ceremonies welcomed everyone to the stage. I remained behind the curtain, listening carefully. Henry stepped to the podium, and the applause filled the ballroom. Daniel glanced at me. It's time. I nodded slowly. I never imagined my journey would end here. He smiled. It isn't ending. What is it? It's finally beginning. I closed my eyes for one brief moment. Every insult, every lonely night, every unpaid bill, every silent sacrifice, they all led me here. The applause faded as Henry unfolded his speech. I heard his calm voice begin welcoming the guests. Then came a brief pause. Daniel whispered, "Listen carefully." I took one steady breath. Beyond the curtain, hundreds of people waited without realizing the next few sentences would change everything they believed about success, failure, and a man they once dismissed. My name was only seconds away from echoing across the entire ballroom. The ballroom fell completely silent as Henry Brooks adjusted the microphone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, he began. Thank you for joining us on this historic day. Polite applause filled the room. Henry smiled warmly. Tonight, We celebrate more than a new chief executive officer. We celebrate the values that built Brooks Global Industries. I remained behind the curtain, listening carefully. Henry continued, "Companies survive because of profits. Great companies endure because of integrity, resilience, and leaders who choose truth when nobody is watching." My heartbeat grew louder. I glanced toward Daniel. He nodded once. Henry paused before speaking again. Many people believe success belongs to the loudest voice in the room. Soft laughter spread across the audience. But I have learned that history is often shaped by people whose names remain invisible. I swallowed hard. Henry lifted another page. Several years ago, Brooks Global faced its greatest challenge. The audience leaned forward. "So tonight," he said, "before we welcome our new CEO, I must first honor the man who quietly saved this company." The room became so quiet that I could hear my own breathing. Henry looked across the audience before continuing. "That man never demanded recognition." He paused again. He never asked for applause. Another silence followed. He simply solved impossible problems while protecting this company with honesty, wisdom, and courage. I gripped the edge of the curtain. Henry smiled. For years, only a few people knew his name. I closed my eyes for 1 second. "Tonight," Henry declared, "everyone will know it." Every guest watched him expectantly. He raised the final page of his speech. "The extraordinary man who helped transform Brooks Global during its darkest years is Adrian Hayes." My name echoed through the ballroom. I opened my eyes. Emily froze. Marcus turned completely pale. Victor's glass slipped from his trembling hand and shattered across the floor. Linda stared toward the stage with her mouth open. Whispers spread through the audience. "Adrian Hayes? The same Adrian? No, that can't be possible." I took one deep breath. Daniel smiled proudly. "Go," he whispered. "Your time has finally arrived." I stepped through the curtain as the spotlight settled on me. The applause faded into complete silence. Every pair of eyes followed me across the stage. I walked slowly toward Henry and Olivia, refusing to look away. "Emily Guisperth, no, this can't be happening." Marcus shook his head. He was fired. Victor stood frozen. "I don't understand." Henry welcomed me with a warm smile and offered his hand. "Thank you for finally joining us." I shook it. "The honor is mine." Olivia stood beside me. "You earned this moment," she said quietly. I smiled. I never imagined it would look like this. Henry turned back to the audience. "Many of you believed Adrian disappeared after leaving his former company." He paused. "The truth is that he became the quiet architect of Brooks Global's greatest transformation." The audience remained speechless. I looked across the ballroom. Years earlier, those same faces had laughed while I stood alone. Tonight, they couldn't even find the words to speak. Henry unfolded another page and looked toward the audience. "You deserve to know the full truth," he said. "For years, Adrian guided our biggest decisions without asking anyone to recognize his work." The room remained silent. He rebuilt failing divisions, restored client trust, trained future leaders, and protected this company during its hardest years. I lowered my head, overwhelmed. Henry continued. "When others chased attention, he chased solutions." Daniel rose from his seat and applauded. One by one, the board members stood beside him. Soon the entire ballroom rose to its feet. The standing ovation echoed through every corner of the hall. I felt my eyes fill with tears. Olivia leaned closer. "You don't have to hide anymore." I smiled through the emotion. "I never wanted revenge." "I know. You gave me something better." "What?" "A chance to become the man I always hoped I could be." She squeezed my hand gently. "You already are." The applause grew even louder as I faced the audience with quiet gratitude. Henry stepped back from the microphone and nodded toward me. "Adrian," he said, "these people deserve to hear your voice." I took a steady breath and walked forward. For years, I believed being called a failure defined my future. The ballroom remained silent. I was wrong. I looked toward Emily, Marcus, Victor, and Linda. I don't stand here because I defeated anyone. I paused. I stand here because a few people believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. I turned toward Daniel and Olivia. Thank you for seeing my character before my success. Daniel smiled proudly. You earned every step. I faced the audience once more. If you remember only one thing tonight, remember this. I smiled. Never judge someone's future by their hardest season. The audience erupted into another standing ovation. As the applause surrounded me, I realized the recognition I had dreamed about for years felt far smaller than the peace already living inside my heart.